Good day, y'all. Hey, I'm just gonna chime in on this drama. I was watching it go on. I really didn't care. Nothing really to add to it. But then Spetsnaz made a video. And so, since everyone dragged the artist known as Spetsnaz into this whole thing, I thought I'd try to sum it up real quick and catch you up, help you figure everyone's angle out, and sort of, bring a solution to this problem so we can sort of end it. So it all started when Stardust was just commenting. He said in his return he wanted MGTOW to be about discussing new ideas, and it's fine. It's fine. Fair enough. I always appreciate new ideas. Now, my problem with this, hope that he has, which I believe we all have, is that all the really good thoughts, etc., have already been thought up. There's really not much to say, really. Not really. No, I agree with Stardust. I think it's a fun idea to discuss, hypothesize about human civilization, sort of going at least to a level 1, as he puts it, or type 1 civilization. It's a beautiful idea. Humans have been, or man has been thinking about it maybe for a very long time. Practically our entire existence. We're a social creature. I have nothing to add to this discussion, so I haven't. I did that for a few reasons, but mostly the heavily weighted reason is that I got nothing really good to add. But that is sort of the hope. We need to be discussing human civilization, not only to the equality of men and women, but also to sort of the benefit of the species as a whole. We've been discussing the human animal this whole time, relative to the biological drive to reproduce, relative to women being the necessary other partner in a sexually reproducing species needed to reproduce, relative to that system's current effect on children and civilization. We're supposed to be discussing ideas about civilization and how best to do this. This will explain Barbarossa's use or video posting where he discusses hydroponic farms. He is trying to contribute to the discussion of where we would need to go. Men, being our half of the species, would need to go in general. It would be a good idea to have intra-urban farming buildings. It's a great idea. And I would be discussing it more with him if I had anything actually to add that botanists and urban engineers haven't already said. It's a great idea. No, it's a really good idea. I agree with you, Barbarossa. But that's Barbarossa's contribution. That's of his many contributions. That's one of them to this sort of civilization focus. So Stardust made a request, which was fine. And it's, intelligent people added in. I didn't because I don't have that much to add. And this is all towards the end of civilization. And to connect this big picture to MGTOW, I would say none of this discussion of civilization can be said any more than has already been said for thousands of years until we devise a way of getting free energy. Fusion. We're fundamentally talking about energy here. Energy to do what? To replace work. We're talking about energy to run electrical devices that will be more and more commonly needed in a growing civilization. They're already working on that. Hot fusion is probably the most reasonable way currently to go about this goal. And humans have known this for thousands of years. It's called a perpetual motion machine. Star Trek has matter-antimatter chambers, or forced singularities. We have been pondering this idea practically for the entirety of civilization. And this will go into Bitcoin and money in general and wages, HR, and quote-unquote male-female wage gap. This essentially, the theory is money replaces work. Work being in the physical sense, the expenditure of energy. If we can find a way to get free energy, we will find a way to better quantify reward, incentivize behavior. This would be civilization, is now and always has been, civilization's way of controlling or incentivizing, luring people to subscribe to that civilization. When you get more money out of your work at one job than another for your time, for your expenditure of energy. And at another job, you get paid less. And you make decisions like that. What is the most effective expenditure of your energy, of your time? Well, if we could just get free energy, then we can talk about type 1 civilizations. Then we can talk about Plato's Republic, Milton's Paradise Lost. Then we can talk about it. Hydroponics is fine, but everything that MGTOW addresses relative to everything else, like economics relative to marriage, work, labor, coal mining relative to money paid to acquire, attract a female, because essentially it's just an exchange of property. Essentially it's just like a weird form of prostitution. Like, essentially you are just attracting a mate, and one of the factors involved in attracting a mate is money. This explains coal miners' choice to work in a coal mine. The incentive of sex, the value of sex, the fix is so enticing that men are drawn into a marriage out of the necessity in a sexually reproducing species to negotiate and attract a mate. Attract and then negotiate with a mate for the literal reproductive service. Right? We don't have artificial wombs. This is why we talk about artificial wombs. It's really weird. What else? Surrogacy. Yeah. We talk about that too. So, energy, money, work, or energy, work, money, resources, mate, child. Civilization continues. The species continues. This is what Stardust wants to talk about. Barbarossa. Now, on to Sandman. Sandman is fine, and I don't listen to him anymore because he is just, to kind of make peace between these two guys. I will say, Sandman is applying what he learned from Stardust and Barbarossa. He's applying it. And what Spetsnaz is talking about here, the reason why this happened to Stardust is because he learned everything he knew from you, everything he's talking about, everything he's showing from you. He's doing it in chunks. I mean, he broke down sort of like a series, like a daily video channel. Yeah, video channel. And, shorter videos. Civilization produces short attention spans currently. And so, Stardust, you should feel, honored. And, how I came to MGTOW was because your videos hit along with David Buss from your team, the evolutionary psychologist. The people who view your videos are probably more, how should I say, as Spetsnaz puts it, academically minded. And they will come across your videos looking up something else in evolutionary psychology and find MGTOW. Like, you pick up, like, MGTOWs, like, randomly. And maybe you're hitting some students' minds. Maybe you're hitting some professors' minds. And you're doing a good job, combating this whole feminist college culture. You're doing a really good job. And I would wager that your viewers watch the whole video. You're getting the long attention span people. Sandman's not talking about that. So say, you gotta break it down. Like a guy, when you teach music, you don't tell them all the tricks up front. You don't give them the real quick essay. You just, you drag it out into like little sections. And you make them do things over and over and over again. Hey, remember that scale I taught you last week? Well, here's that same scale in B instead of A, and I'm going to do it kind of weird so it doesn't look exactly the same. But, Sandman has a vested interest, as Spetsnaz points out, into breaking things down to like 10 minutes. And so that's what he's doing. He's doing it. But be honored, he's using your stuff. Now this will go to the whole thing at the end, don't worry. I'm not lost in a ramble. I'm sorry I'm doing this to you. I'm trying to explain it real quick in this big kind of thing. Make peace. Right, so that's Sandman's thing. And he might want to cite you. I'm not sure if he has. I don't listen to him anymore. He's just, talking about his mother-in-law. I get what Stardust meant by that now. And so, that's nice to point out. That's fine. We ultimately need to be talking about what Stardust wants us to talk about. Sandman's just pointing out video evidence. He's just pointing it out, documenting it. He's doing his part. and we shouldn't knock him. This will go into Colonel Absconder's point later, but I hope that wraps up the whole Sandman thing. He's just doing it for himself. He may want to cite you more, you and Barbarossa. But we all know you two guys are the guys, alright? Now, on to Sixth Senses, who definitely has a good point. Now, okay, Sixth Senses was pointing out that we have to have some sort of MGTOW standard. There has to be a MGTOW standard. The thing that I think has been adopted in our group is the idea of a MGTOW PUA and a MGTOW MRA. Or, in more colloquial terminology, a PUA with a hamster and MRA with a NOWALT. It's the difference. MGTOW PUA, MGTOW MRA. And then you also have PUA with a hamster and an MRA with a NOWALT. Sixth Senses would essentially just like MGTOW to mean at least you're not married. You're not married. That's all it means. If you're married with the civilization structure currently, you are feeding into the system. You're feeding into your own self-destruction or risk of it. And that's bad. That's what you like the basic level, the basic standard, and I've said that, I'm repeating myself, is you're not married. Married MGTOW, if you said it before, repeat myself, if you're married and you want to be useful to other men in civilization, be an MRA. And pray to God she's in the wall. And if you want to be married and keep your wife happy, go to a PUA site. Know how to keep and know how to attract and keep a hamster, or purchase one, and how to treat your hamster in colloquial terms. And I've said that before. So MGTOW essentially just not married. Feeds into bad civilization for men. Bad civilization. Bad for humanity as a whole. Stardust. Now, this goes on to Colonel Absconder's point. Now, relative to Stardust and civilization, when, as he points out, and as I agree, in the next under 2 years, someone's going to come calling a MGTOW. Some reporter, some is going to they're going to hear about MGTOW. They're going to hear that's not MRA, that's not PUA. What does that mean? What does that mean? And then when the press comes calling eventually, they're probably because of the YouTube searches, they're probably going to call Sandman. And this is bad, as Colonel Absconder points out, because Sandman is not Stardust. The press is going to be looking for a knowledgeable diplomat. And Sandman seems like he would do a good job. I personally believe Stardust would do a better one. And no one else has really commented on this. It's not really about bruised egos here. It's about MGTOW relative to civilization. MGTOW relative to marriage. Relative to the forced choice the male gender has been sort of thrust into this sort of risky situation. MGTOW relative to that. Marriage relative to women attracting and acquiring a mate and keeping a mate. Like MRAs talk about, it's acquiring, it's kind of risky. PUAs say, hey, it's probably a bad decision, but here's how you spin your hamster. Right? You messed up, you made it, MGTOW say you messed up, you made a choice, you rolled the dice to reproduce, which you kind of got forced to do, which is what the MRAs are talking about. And then the PUAs are like, hey, who gives a crap? Right? Just don't get married, or if you are, here's how you spin a hamster. Like, my only real philosophical objection with PUAs is that most of them just want to be a dick about it at the end. Like, I kind of have some respect for PUA with a hamster. Like, and he's been like spinning that for like a dozen years or more. I kind of got respect for that guy. But yeah, they're not MGTOW. PUA with a hamster, MRA with a NOWALT. Right? Hopefully the PUA is spinning this hamster right, and hopefully the MRA is loving his NOWALT. Like, hopefully, hopefully. And so that's essentially Colonel Absconder's concern, right? It's not that Sandman is bad or lesser. I mean, we all admit we're all different, which was someone else's point. And so when civilization comes calling and they want to ask, like, why go MGTOW? The person they should be asking won't be the person that's probably the most well-informed on the subject. And that's the concern here, ironically. Colonel Absconder is concerned trolling. It's ironic. It's funny. It's funny. So, to wrap it up, this ramble, I hope that makes everything clear. I hope that makes peace. Hope that we can now talk, as Betsnaz wishes, we can now talk about what MGTOW means relative to civilization. And I would say it just means you're not married. That's my country. It just means you're not married. That's the only standard. Other than that, you can go do whatever you want. Alright? Okay, guys. You guys have a nice day. And always remember to go your own way. Yours truly. And